Welcome to Inside Gaming. I'm Brian. It's the weekend roundup. Google Stadia is set to release next month. Still one big question though, what about latency? Because with Stadia, obviously there's no local hardware, you're streaming games over the internet. That's gonna take up a lot more bandwidth than watching a movie on Netflix. Honestly, sometimes that doesn't even work out that great. Well, Google says they have a fix for that: negative latency. Oh boy, here we go. In an interview with Edge magazine, Stadia's VP of Engineering, Maj Bakar, said negative latency will make Stadia more responsive than consoles. Now, here's an excerpt of his interview with Edge. Engadget transcribed it. So here's what they said. Negative latency is a concept by which Stadia can set up a game with a buffer of predicted latency between the server and the player, and then use various methods to undercut it. It can run the game at a super fast frame rate so it can act on player inputs earlier, or it can predict a player's button presses. These tricks help the game feel more responsive, potentially more so than a console game running locally at 30 FPS with a wireless controller. Okay, predict a player's button presses. Sweet, does that mean Stadia can just grind my character up to level 99, then I can take over, whip the boss? I used to make my little sister do that all the time on Final Fantasy. It ruled. This sounds kind of crazy on the surface, but this technique has a term. It's actually called client-side prediction. It's been around for a while now. I dug this up. Jan Bernier at Valve wrote a piece about it a few years ago. It gets technical, but basically they use a player's last movement from the server as a starting point. Then they use the last several commands by the client to predict what they will do next. Now, devs have been using these tricks actually since Duke Nukem 3D and Quake World, and in lots of online games since then. Fighting gamers even use middleware sometimes like GGPO to reduce latency too. Now, developer and engineer Garrett Cooper told IGN that there's always going to be some latency in them sending the data to your machine, so Google must have some solution in mind to allow them to pipeline the data. Tony Cannon, who makes middleware, that's what I was talking about earlier, that's used in fighting games, he says it predicts the actions of other players in the game and computes the most likely outcome immediately. If that outcome is incorrect, it rolls back to past to fix the error and quickly simulates forward to the new, more accurate present.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
This is why those guys are engineers and I'm reading about video games to you guys on the internet. As for Stadia, he said it's most likely computing many possible futures and sending them all to the client along with the current frame. If the next client input matches any one of the predictions, it can render that frame immediately, avoiding a round trip to the server. Oh, that's interesting. So it's like, okay, maybe he's gonna do this, this, and this, and if it matches up, it's like, yeah, cool. We can do that right now, because I already guessed you would do that.
It's like multiple choice.
Yeah.
So if we keep it simple, if there are three options and they go, okay, it goes with
right.
Client side B, then it sends client side B to the server and A and C just disappear.
And it's like, I've been watching you this whole time, so I kind of know what you're gonna do, or I can make an educated guess as to what you're gonna do next.
So you're saying that Stadia is Skynet?
It's dystopian as hell when you think about it. But the larger point is this isn't exactly new. There's been some amount of prediction used already in multiplayer games, but needless to say, it's gonna be interesting to see if Stadia can pull this off on a larger scale. There's also Google we're talking about. They made a bunch of advances in AI and machine learning, so they got a pedigree for these kind of things. Then again, I'll be honest, I still like owning hard copies of my games and having the local hardware. At my place, it makes me feel better. I'm old school, but we will see. All right. Moving on, there's a cool new feature in the works for Steam. Valve is working on something called Remote Play Together, which will let people play local multiplayer games online. Awesome, maybe now I can finally play A Way Out. I've been wanting to do that forever.
I would have played it with you.
What?
Yeah.
Oh man, we should hang out outside the office sometime. I know. News about the feature came out on the Unity forums, where there was an email from Valve posted. Best of all, only the host player needs to own the game, and it supports up to 4 players. Those who don't own the game will apparently be able to stream gameplay at 1080p and 60 frames per second. Sounds pretty cool. Valve says a beta is planned for the week of October 21st. Is a Demon's Souls remake in the works? A new version of the game that kicked off the Soulsborne genre. It's been talked about for a while. People have wanted it. Now it's rumored that Blue Point Games might be doing it. And now there's a little more smoke to add to that rumor. In an interview with Wired, Blue Point Games president Marco Thrush was asked about what games they're working on for the PS5 He replied, "We're working on a big one right now. I'll let you figure out the rest." Ooh. Demon's Souls was a surprise hit on the PS3 back in the day. It was succeeded by the Dark Souls series, but the Demon's Souls IP specifically is owned by Sony, so we think that's what slowed it up. But Bluepoint has worked on a lot of great remasters like Shadow of the Colossus, Gravity Rush Remastered, there was Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, so fingers crossed. I'm gonna say, I didn't cross my fingers when I said it, fingers crossed. Yeah. All right, so long, Estes Flask. I'm ready to eat grass again, just like the old days. All right, one game that we know is coming up soon, Ring Fit Adventure for the the Switch, sorry. Definitely feels like a Wii game. The exercise game continues Nintendo's tradition of trying to get our butts off the couch and moving. It's got that ring that holds one Joy-Con, you do this, and then there's a strap that holds another, and you use it all to play a real basic looking RPG. And there's like a bodybuilding dragon at the end. I think that's the last boss. He's a buff, bad dragon.
So I like to say we are Funhouse adjacent.
I would say. Yeah. I don't know if they would say that, but we would say that. Yeah.
I'm hoping and praying for a drunk Ring Fit Adventure stream.
What are we even, if they don't do it, who would? Yeah. I don't know.
I'm just saying.
We'll see.
Lawrence.
Shotgun a few and play Ring Fit Adventure. It's out next Friday for the Switch. Doom Eternal has been delayed. The follow-up to the highly successful Doom reboot will now release March 20th of next year. Originally, it was supposed to come out next month. In a letter from id Software, they said they're bumping it back a few months, quote, "for Doom Eternal to live up to our standards of speed and polish." You know, the reboot was so good. Like, it was, if Doom Eternal can match that, you guys take all the time you need. All right, time for a 5-second review. Here we go. I don't know, I actually haven't beat the main story yet, but the trailer looked really cool.
God damn.
All right, moving on, let's talk about some of the games coming out next week. Up first, it's The Eyes of Ara, a 3D puzzle adventure game set in an ancient castle riddled with secret vaults, hidden rooms, and lost treasures. Solve elaborate puzzles and unravel the mystery that bridges the scientific with the arcane. It's been out on PC for a couple years, but you can pick it up on the Switch, another Switch PC port on October 15th. Disco Elysium is an open-world RPG where you play as a detective with a massive murder mystery to solve. You can intimidate, sweet-talk, resort to violence, write poetry, dance, or attempt to solve the meaning of life. Resort to violence, resort to violence. Not sure how most of those actually help you solve a murder, but hey, it's open world, you have your choices, I guess. The game boasts a new dialogue system with partially voiced characters that will allow you to play NPCs against one another. You can help them or perhaps fall madly in love with them. Resort to violence, resort to violence, resort to violence. Once again, aren't you supposed to be solving a murder case? Maybe not trying to get laid? I don't know. Anyway, it's coming out on October 15th for PC. Porting over to the Switch, it's Overwatch, that's right. Now you can play this competitive hero-based team shooter where you can capture objectives, unquestionably support China, watch the shitty Genji player who thinks he's only one win away from playing in the league, chase kills and die instantly, then enjoy as he endlessly complains about not getting heals when he's never near the team or any actual battles, all while on the go. Aaron, I'm sensing a little pent-up anger about this.
Look, I'm just saying, when you play as part of the team, you get heals, you sword swinging bitch.
Harsh, yeah. It's available on the Switch, October 15th. Another big game coming to the Switch, it's The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition. Of course, you know that you play as Geralt, a mercenary monster slayer in the story-driven open-world adventure game set in a dark fantasy universe. The Complete Edition contains all the DLC currently released for the game, including Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine. Those are some great DLCs. You can pick it up for the Switch, October 15th. What's that? You want more games porting to the Switch? Good news! It's Override Mech City Brawl. The multiplayer mech fighter has you piloting a roster of robots, each with their own playstyle, special moves, and finishers. There's local and online versus mode, as well as some co-op options if you have friends. It's porting over to the Switch October 15th. Little Town Hero is an RPG that takes place in a village on the edge of the world. The only gate leading out of the town is heavily guarded by a castle, and the villagers not allowed to leave. But when monsters start showing up, you have to save the day by fighting them off and unraveling their mysterious origins. The developers say that you won't need to fight weak monsters repeatedly to level grind, and instead, you'll just need to have a good strategy to fight each boss monster one-on-one. It's coming out for the Switch October 16th. Demon Pit is an arcade-style arena shooter with a classic 90s aesthetic. You'll battle against endless waves of demonic hordes in a constantly changing arena. To get the high score on the leaderboard, it'll only cost you your soul. Damn, I gave mine up to beat Battletoads. Worth it. It's coming out for PC October 17th. In Stranded Sails, Explorers of the Cursed Islands, you and your crew are shipwrecked on a mysterious archipelago. Archipelago.
It's archipelago.
Archipelago, all right. You say tomato.
No, it's archipelago.
Archipelago. Together you'll need to farm, build, and explore the islands to complete quests, battle supernatural dangers, solve the secret of the cursed islands, and eventually escape from the archipelago. It's coming out on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch October 17th. Let's go fishing. According to the devs, The Fisherman Fishing Planet is for all fans of nature and sport fishing. I'm sure there are literally tens of you watching this right now. I like fishing, actually. I'm from the South. In the game, you'll find 143 different species of fish, dynamic weather, a day-night cycle, 19 lake and river environments to explore, and over 1,000 different products to choose from to set up your rig just the way you want it. With all of that, why would you ever need to go outside again? It's coming to the PC, PS4, and Xbox One October 17th. Driven Out is a 2D side-scroller with a 16-bit retro aesthetic and challenging sword-based combat. You play as a farmer who is forced from her home and into a dangerous world full of dangerous, fantastical creatures. They're dangerous, by the way. Along the way, she discovered a magic device that creates copies of herself should she fall in battle. However, the device is fragile and it only takes one hit from her enemies to break it. She should buy a better device. It's coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One October 18th. And finally, making its way to consoles, it's Return of the Obra Dinn. Ooh, my PC friend said that was good, but I'd never played it, so this is right up my alley. The Obra Dinn was declared lost at sea in the year 1803. Then, in 1807, it suddenly drifts back into port. With the damaged sails and no visible crew, you're an insurance investigator for the East India Company. That's totally a job that you could eventually have. Like, you're not going to be a hero or a corporate, an insurance investigator. Absolutely. You need to find a way aboard and prepare an assessment of damages. The game has a very unique aesthetic and it got a ton of praise over the last year. I saw it on a lot of Game of the Year lists. You can pick it up for PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch October 18th. And finally, this is the actual finally, it's time to strap on your buckets and load your pea shooters. It's Plants vs. Zombies, Battle for Neighborville. It's the age-old battle between plants and zombies, complete with 20 fully customizable character classes, each with unique abilities. There's 6 PvP modes, including a new battle arena, and you can battle through free roam and social regions as well. The game also offers split-screen couch co-op. We always appreciate that. It's coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One October 18th. No Switch because EA apparently hates the Switch. All right, that's all the news we've got for you this week. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. We'll see you later.
For you right now.
Sony has finally given in on crossplay. Finally, some good news to report.
Yeah, which means this episode is not going to do very well. Yeah, the new feature is available for developers to use right now, which is good news for upcoming games like Modern Warfare.
Yeah, they announced last year that they were going to be enabling a beta feature for games like Fortnite, but now it's available for all games.
Yeah, weirdly though, Sony hasn't really publicized the new feature.